onto Lane.
Hi, so the next strategic priority is develop leaders and expand congregational engagement. We have an amazingly gifted, talented, and skilled congregation, and we want everyone to be able to use their gifts appropriately. So the first one, plan and carry out a successful pastoral transition. Obviously, Denny's retiring in a few years, and that's going to be something that we're going to need to develop leaders and get engagement to make that a successful transition. Number two, identify barriers to engagement and strategies to overcome them. We want everyone to be able to plug into ministry and work in events that they would like to do. So we want to identify whatever barriers there are and take care of that. Number three, create and implement plan for personally inviting people into discipleship and ministry. Now for myself, a while ago, Pastor Doug invited me into the youth ministry, and that made a big impact on me in feeling connected to the church. So we want people with similar gifts to be able to identify others and encourage them into ministry so they can get more connected. The next one is communicate and educate the congregation on ministry opportunities. Each spring we pass out a list of ministry opportunities for people to sign up for. And we want to do a better job of following up on that and just making sure that as many people that want to be involved are involved. There's a definite theme here that just plugging everybody in to where their gifts are and where they feel led to. And finally, create a plan for mentoring to strengthen leaders and increase volunteers. We want experienced Christians to come alongside newer Christians and encourage them to find where they need to be in the church. And I will pass it on to Doug Jones.
Good afternoon. I'll speak with you just for a few moments about column E, continuing effective stewardship of kingdom resources. As we had our day-and-a-half retreat with the LBOA, as we processed all the input that the community had given to us about the strategic plan, we quickly realized that infrastructure and resources being time, talent, treasure, those sorts of things, were going to be crucial to accomplishing the things in columns A through D. So this column E is a little bit different in the sense that there's not a lot of programmatic sorts of things that we would do here, but these are the sorts of things that will form the basis to allow us to do the rest of the map. So we felt like that was pretty important. A couple of things I would point out. First of all is just the title of this first box, Continue Effective Stewardship. So I thought continue was intentional to add that in there. I thought that was important. We didn't feel like this was something we hadn't been doing very well, but we felt like as we looked at all the things we need to do going forward and as we think about growth and those sorts of things, that we need to be even more intentional about how we continue to address the limited resources that we do have and how best to apply those to the things that God would have us do in the church. So box number one, optimize property utilization for current and future needs. A few things here. Obviously, it doesn't take long to realize we're a landlocked institution, small campus, on a small parcel, very limited parking. And so how do we deal with that? As God might have us grow the church, and we've grown so much over the years, if He would have us grow into the future, how do we handle that? Joshua touched on that a bit about, is that involving maybe some church plans or those sorts of things? But what about here on campus, here on this facility? And how do we work through that? And so there are a lot of things we're going to have to think about as a leadership team, as a congregation, about how best to move forward with that. So we're not bringing answers today, we're just bringing issues that we have to address as we move forward. Also need to think about pastoral housing. As has been mentioned, as Denny transitions, we'll have need to bring in a new senior pastor. And with the high cost of housing in the area, how do we assist with that? How do we make plans and preparations for that so we can do right by the new pastor as he or she comes in? Number two, improve communication of mission, directives, and activities. Essentially, you're focusing on improving communication in order to expand and deepen the congregation's awareness of the mission and direction. And more than just know what the mission is, it's on the front of the bulletin every Sunday. It's more than just knowing what it is, but really engaging in that and taking that in and really living that as a body of believers. Strategic objective E3, number 3 there, strengthen board education and coordination of information. And this is one that probably most specifically and directly relates to the board, and that is we want to make sure that you as a congregation have an educated and trained board. So it's not just folks who come in once a month on a Saturday morning or a Monday night or whenever we have our meetings that particular year and have meetings to try to discuss certain things. We want to make sure we have trained individuals, folks that are all on the same page about leadership and those sorts of things. And Denny's done a great job over the years of leading us through a lot of education, and we appreciate that and look forward to more. But also then coordination of information. You may or may not know, we have the local board of administration, so that's the board over the entire church. But then we have 2 other sub-boards. So the CDCC, Cliff Drive Care Center, has its own board, and then the Finance and Property Board oversees the finances and property, as the name would imply, of the church itself. So among and between those 3 organizations and those 3 boards, how do we stay in communication, make sure that we all know what's going on, we're all on the same page, and moving forward with that. Number 4, ensure mission-driven resource allocation. As with a lot of institutions, I think we probably have more good ideas than we have resources available. Resources, again, being time, treasure, talent, infrastructure. So how best to allocate, organize, prioritize the different things that come across our table as opportunities and make sure that we're allocating those resources to the best possible places in the best possible ways. And then finally, strengthen communication with the congregation on financial status and financial needs. And I think we do a pretty good job on the needs part. I think we oftentimes hear needs, whether it's from missionaries or it's from the church itself, whether we have different fundraisers going on or come to year-end appeals, those sorts of things. But what about the rest of the year, the rest of the time when things are going well? We want to make sure that the congregation is well apprised of the financial situation of the church, and just to be sure we're all on the same page. And no surprises, and not trying to hide anything from anybody. Just want to make sure that everything's as transparent as it can be. So, with that, I will turn it back over to Randy.
So you can see there's a lot in here, and we're really excited. There's a lot to chew on.